town celebrated 3 championships in 7 years, and rarely has someone so tough played so pivotal a part.
McCarty draws. McCarty in. McCarty scores! A magnificent goal! Darren McCarty!
Show that play. Lariano. Shanahan. There it is. He scores! The Red Wings have defeated Colorado. Darren McCarty.
Here's a break at center. McCarty. Up ball. McCarty scores! Darren McCarty!
There's Volpe and McCarty in. McCarty scores!
I love you, but you're a mess.
I am a mess. I'm a work in progress, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and this work in progress on this Wednesday, August 7th, is coming to you at 2:50 in the afternoon. I don't know about any of you guys who used to know me. I wouldn't be up before 5, so I am obviously making progress. So how's everybody doing today? The Grind Time with Darren McCarty. Thank you. Special afternoon edition. I'm going to get right to it. First, I want to thank Isis for working the 1s and 2s for me today, bud. Always good to see you. Thank you for your help in the absence of Bam Bam. Joined as always by my co-host, Perry Vellucci. Perry, how are you?
Doing good,
Not
man.
from you? All right, thanks. And special rate to the guest, because this gentleman, for any of you who don't know, not only is one of the funniest people with a guitar that I know, but he's a roundabout reason that the Darren McCarty Slapstick Comedy Tour and I get travel around, because of attending it with Detroit cast Mike Walters back at in Berkeley. O'Mara's in Berkeley, and that was like 2 years ago, probably.
I think it was a little bit longer than that.
A little longer than that. Well, whatever it is, J. Chris Newberg.
What's up?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. We're excited. Obviously, you're in town. Thank you for. I know that you had to persevere through the Detroit cast with
I did.
Jay and Mike and all
tough.
that shenanigans. I listened to it. Actually, it was good, and it's great. Tonight, you're in town because you have
My podcast live, and then I'm in town because I'm recording my record.
Which speak about that. So being anybody who doesn't know, look up J. Chris Newberg. But my man here, this is, nobody's been talking about this enough, right? Because you recorded, and I want to hear about the number one album, the number one recorded album comedy-wise that was on, what's it at now?
It's at number 2 at the moment, but it's been out for like 64. It's been top 10 for 64 straight weeks, Billboard comedy.
And that's unbelievable. And the story behind it is it was like an afterthought, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. I just I was trying to get a Netflix special like every other comic on earth, and then could not do that because I couldn't, and they just passed. And then they're like, it's not really. We don't think it's material that tracks, etc. You know, I think honestly, like, not to be. Like, I think it was a race issue because like I'm white, and I think that like
White privilege.
there's a lot of white comics right now, and I think that's like the market's overflowed with it. So my manager was like, "Why don't you do an album?" So I just had the cameras or microphones roll in one night. The second night, I did the Comedy Castle 2 years ago in August, and captured it, and it was great. It wasn't, and I just said, "Let's record it." We submitted to a record label; they loved it. Took it, put it out, and then it just kind of took off. It just like it started at number one, stayed number 1 for 7 weeks in a row, and then it just never left the top 10.
So let's take a trek. You know, we'll get back to being from here and stuff, but let's take a trek on that because I want to understand that, because 64 weeks ago, when you did it, obviously you're in a lot different place and a lot different, mental state, whatever like that. Where does it stand now? Like, Can you give my listeners where you were mentally, physically trying in a state of grinding, trying to get a Netflix special, deciding, hey, I'm going to do this instead. I don't know what's going to happen, to where it is now?
I mean, I've always kind of just it's interesting because I don't think I've ever stopped, staying with the theme of the show, grinding, ever. It's like I'm a very successful comedian. I think you can argue that I'm not a successful comedian. I'm not playing theaters. I'm not playing arenas. I'm not I'm not touring constantly. But I've done all of the late night shows you're supposed to do. I've been in movies. I've worked constantly pretty much since I've done it. But it's just like, I'm another comic. I'm just like a regular.
You got beat by people with sparkles?
Got beat by people with sparkles, like in America's Got Talent. Like, I went on, I had a great set, I lost.
Yeah.
It is what it is. So it's like, where I was a year ago, I don't kind of like, or 64 weeks ago, before it came out, I'm excited that many more people have heard of me, and it's great, and it presents other opportunities to make something happen. But gone are the days with our society of there being one specific incident or situation that catapults you into mega stardom. Gone are the Johnny Carson couch days. Gone are the whatever. Like when you have people who are catapulted to super high heights, but only for like 5 minutes.
Right.
You know, you talk about like if someone wins American Idol. Like
Right.
There was a winner of American Idol recently. I don't know who.
Do you know
I
the
don't,
name?
I don't know
No,
who.
No
exactly.
idea.
Who's the last American Idol you knew? Carrie Underwood?
Or Kelly Clarkson.
No, I gotta be honest here.
Do it.
Justin Gagara, because he does Little Sweet, Little the Dr. Pepper, which is brilliant, right? You know, I mean, I
Yeah.
guess Adam Lambert's touring with Queen, which ain't bad, but
No, that wouldn't suck.
no,
But he didn't win.
Right.
right. So
Like, as far as winners, like, but so I was like, this will be great. This will be another opportunity. And what a dick move of Walters to give me a piece of pizza without a napkin. Like, what a jerk.
Typical.
There you go.
Typical.
napkins.
here, yeah, you get the Kleenex. Hey,
Yeah.
you know how to use the Kleenex. There you go.
Well, people need to understand that Chris just got in at 4:30 this morning and it's been nonstop and just did that other show.
No,
so
you gotta
he's gotta
understand that that's his first slice of Buddy's Pizza since he's been in town, and my man loves Buddy's Pizza, even
That's
though
my
Buddies don't love him. I don't understand why, but Walters is a dick for not giving you.
No, it's my first slice of pizza this is my first slice of pizza in a month. And it's my first slice of Buddy's Pizza in probably like a year and a half, 2 years. I'm pretty excited about it. So anyways, yeah, it's a cool thing to have, like, it's something else, you know? It's just like, that doesn't mean it stops. It means, and then I gotta do the next thing.
Did you envision this? I mean, the album taking off like it did to be #1 and then just zoom like that?
I've had 3 other albums, which collectively have had, oh, thanks, buddy. I've had,
Day late and a fucking dollar short as always.
Shamed Walters.
Michelle brought you that pizza. I brought Darren his, and I gave him a napkin.
Yes, you did.
she'll be in the trunk later. She does not even get to ride in the car.
He's just, here, you guys want a slice?
Wait, hey, can you bring that slice of pepperoni too?
Yeah.
Cool. Anyways, so yeah, it's just like another thing you get to do. And wait, I'm so sorry. You was distracted. You asked me a question. Oh, did I envision it? No, absolutely not. And I don't necessarily know what I could have expected. I mean, I had 3 prior records that have probably collectively sold 4,000 copies over the years. And then all of a sudden this one comes out and I'm easily into like 40, 45,000 easily at this
Awesome.
point.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's time. But so what I'm hearing from you is a lot of things that I've learned to preach. It's sort of about the journey. And it's sort of sticking to it. Because really the destination's an oasis.
Yeah.
Right? Because because we're human beings. So once we accomplish a goal, we're automatically on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Grass is greener, whatever else. So what's your advice? Because obviously it's always been your work ethic. Have you always been that way, or did you have to learn it as you went along?
No, I've always been that guy. Thank you so much.
So you're like me, right? You tell me I can't do it, I'm going to do it just to tell you. You're like, you got a Mr. Tymick, because Mr. Tymick was my 9th grade teacher. That when I almost failed, but I didn't. But I had to go to summer school because of him, and we didn't get along. And then 10th grade, I had him again, but then I moved away to play hockey, and class still went on, and he was taking attendance, and said McCarty, and my buddy said, oh, he's gone away to play hockey, chase his dreams. He said, he'll never make it. He'll be back in, 2 weeks.
And you were like, fuck you.
Well, I did. I signed him. The best part, it's one of my, what I use in my stand-up is that my sister, who's 7 years younger, had him for 9th grade when I turned pro, and I got a hockey card. Said, thanks for all the support. Fuck you.
Wow.
Yeah. I've always been motivated by
He was your muse.
He was my muse. No, exactly. Motivated by that. But how about yourself? You always know what did you know you wanted to do first? Make people laugh or play the guitar?
I've always wanted to entertain. I mean, I've always sort of taken the whole David Lee Roth school of entertainment. David Lee Roth I would never consider to be a great singer. I would never consider him to be an incredible lyricist. But I don't know anybody who can not watch him when he's on stage.
Absolutely.
And, like he had an interview one time back in the MTV era, and he said, someone said, define rock and roll, break rock and roll down. Is it the beat? Is it the music? Whatever. And he doesn't even like blink, and he goes, rock and roll is nothing more than shoes and haircuts. And I was like, okay, wow, I guess it is. It's shoes and haircuts. And like, that's his perspective. And like, he's flash entertainment and I want to watch it. And so it's like I just wanted to do that. It's like, that's a cool job. I want to do that. And with, as someone who has always had, I guess I didn't figure out I was funny right away, but I like with limited ability, like I had limited athletic ability, who wanted to be a basketball player. You know, it's like, and then I have limited baseball ability, who wants to go pro. And like, you know what? Why couldn't you go pro? You're born in Oakland County, and your parents are supportive. You know, you can do whatever you want. And then then you hear about these crazy people who are doing hockey at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning. Like, what are you, out of your mind? It's 4 o'clock. And it's like, oh, that's when the best ice time is, and like, that's a different level than people are doing like football practice before. Like, okay, well, that's a lot of work. And then you're like, I don't have the talent to be athletic, so maybe I'm going to be something different. Maybe I'll be a singer, or maybe I'll be a guitar player. And it's like, well, I can't play as good as this person. So you're constantly like recognizing that you have moderate talent, and you just do what, I mean, this is me personally, but like, I just kept moving forward and kept just saying, all right, well, I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm just going to keep doing it. And I don't take the approach of, if you tell me I can't do it, I'm going to do it. I literally take my processes, and Perry, you were discussing depression as far as like a part of a creative process. I'll take a beat and I will accept your notion of what I'm supposed to experience as defeat. I'll take that beat. I'll let you tell me you beat me. I'll go through all the process of grieving temporarily. And it's going to be a day. And it's going to be maybe 2. It's not going to be longer than that. Sometimes it's an hour as I get older and I compress it. But then I'm coming for you. And I don't know if I'm going to win. And I don't know if it's going to be the same thing. But you might knock me down again. But I'm coming back. And I'm coming back. And that's how I've approached everything with like, I just don't want to quit until I accomplish what I need to accomplish. But that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to accomplish it.
Somebody told me, I think I heard Paul Casey, the Englishman, the golfer, on David Faraday, and he said, you know, he at a point where, why do you think you're contemplating quitting? And he said, no, the quitting's too easy.
Yeah.
Right. That's the easy way out. And then, you know, for me, I know, you know, we go down this deep rabbit hole, and I've talked about it a lot of the times. But my awakening was when I realized that, you know, having suicidal thoughts and all this, and then I just realized that 2 things. It's like, first of all, I'm way too egotistical to do that. Like, you know, like what's that? But also, too, is that I take the approach that if I don't fight, I'm letting tons of people down, because that's what I do, and it's time to get back up. And I'll tell you, the last time I got back try to get back up was the hardest it ever was. But it's that realization that you can do it, and it doesn't matter where it is. It's got to persevere. So how does, let the Grind Time listeners know, how does a kid from Oakland County end up in L.A.? You figured out that you could play guitar, you could make people laugh. When did you realize that, and how did your journey begin?
My journey began with trying to play in a band. And I was in a band for a long time around here, and we were moderately successful. We were average at best. We had a lot of really cool accomplishments, but I didn't have a universal eye of 4 other people and myself. I had myself saying, we need to move to LA, we need to do this, we need to go further, we need to practice 4 times a week, we need to do all of this stuff. And then people are like, well, I have a kid, and like, it was the summer of '69 in real life by Bryan Adams.
No shit.
Yeah, it was just like Jimmy quit, Joey got married. You know, it's just like, should have known, would never go far. But like, it went on for 10 years. And I remember saying to myself, if I turn 30 years old and I'm in a band up north and we're playing cover songs, I'm out. It's done. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be, no disrespect to
How
anyone.
old were you when you said this to yourself?
27.
Okay.
And next thing I know, I was 30. I was up north. We were playing American Girl at a Villager pub in Charlevoix, and I was like, I'm out.
Did it just click in your conversation 3 years ago to yourself?
Yeah, I was like, I'm done. So I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I quit. I gave 2 weeks. And then
Is that what you do in a band?
I did. I just like...
I never heard that. I give my 2 week notice. I mean, does that mean you guys had a health plan and stuff?
No, we had dates booked. I said I would honor the dates booked.
Okay.
Oh.
And I did the shows, and then I just started kind of pursuing, like, I was like, all right, I'm done. I guess I'll start a business or I'll do whatever. Excuse me. And I couldn't. I was just like, I wanted to entertain again. I was like, well, I don't want to lug equipment around. That's going to get horrible. So I just started to dabble in stand-up. And then cut to like a year later, I remember my like awakening of like how this is what I'm going to do. I remember being opening up for the comedian, the amazing Jonathan at Meadowbrook.
Right.
And it was 7,500 people or whatever. It was sold out. I remember,
Do you remember what year?
It was like 2000.
Okay.
And I remember, doing the show, it going way better than I'd ever expected, or it didn't. Like last year is so infectious at that level of 7,000 people. It's just contagious, and like everyone loves it. So it went over so well, and I remember bringing 100 CDs with me to the show. And I was like, oh, I'm going to bring 100 CDs. There's 7,000 people here. Maybe I'll sell 20. That'd be great, but I just want to be safe, whatever. So I bring 100 CDs. I don't even go to the merch thing. I don't check. I sit on the end of the stage, or I sit in the back of the lawn, and I just watch his show. He's incredible. After the show, people are like pouring all over me, and they're like, oh, you were so amazing. That was so good. My CDs sold out before he even started. I didn't even know. It was only 100, but it was like sold out. Sold out before it started.
I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
As an entertainer or as an artist of anything, when somebody else appreciates what you've done, especially when it's not like, oh, I haven't heard it yet, but I'm going to see it. But to hear you and say, man, that makes me laugh, that is huge.
It was huge. And I remember the exact same night, the band was still together, and they were performing at the Villager Pub again. And I was like, I made the right move. I was like, I need to pursue this. I need to try to do this. I need to make this happen. And then I just went all in. And it sucked, man. And like, as far as like, people talk about...
Get into the suck. Because it's that, like, the people got to understand is that to get where you really want to get, if you want to be open and honest and, the self-awareness, is you got to embrace the suck to go through it. So I know all the stuff, you've done and all this stuff. And that's the thing that I love about you is like, you ain't afraid to go out and say, oh, okay, no, that's cool. Or no, that's not cool. So things like that. But how did you learn is it this the drive?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like you are exactly where you are at that moment. And it's just like you choose to persevere, you choose to retreat, you choose to move forward in that moment pretty much constantly. And if you're not trying, like, you mentioned, like the Oasis, it's like if you wanting to play Madison Square Garden and having played Madison Square Garden are two entirely different things.
Right.
Like, oh my God, you guys, next week I'm playing Madison Square Garden. It's the biggest deal. Next week, oh my God. And you play Madison Square Garden, and it is the biggest deal. And you're in front of, like, it's Madison Square Garden. And then all of a sudden the next day, it's just like, oh, last night I played Madison Square Garden. And then 2 weeks later, it's like 2 weeks ago I played Madison Square Garden. And then it's like, dude, stop talking about Madison Square Garden. So it's like you can't purchase anything with your memory of performing at Madison Square Garden. You need to move forward. So I did everything that I thought I was going to be able to do in the world of comedy when I lived in Michigan. My grandmother passed away. I moved out there in like 2004. And I was like, I'm going to try it. And I went from being a popular comedian here who could play any night he wanted at Ridley's, which is, I guess, the pinnacle of success for a comedian in Michigan.
Absolutely.
It's an A room. I would go up any open mic I wanted. I hung out. I'd play all the other clubs. I'd play bars. I'd do whatever. I would get up 6-7 times a week. So I had 2 or 3 years of like boot camp here of constantly going up. And when I first started, I was up 7 nights a week. I don't care where it was. If it was a backyard party, if it was whatever, I was up. I did it, whatever. I took all of that knowledge and I moved to Los Angeles. And for the next 6 years, I failed miserably to the point where I was like, I lived in my car for an extensive period of time. I lived on friends' floors. I was drunk constantly. It was just like, I was lonely. I was miserable. It's like you talk about, I don't have clinical depression, but I had actual depression in those moments where it's just like, fuck, what did I do? Like I had such a good thing going, but I left my comfort zone to go out there. And it's just like, that's the key. You have to take a chance because unless it's a violent like an ending of a violent possibility, like why would you not?
How did you get through it though? How did you stay either positive or whatever? Because I know the feeling of going into that self-pity, self-doubt or whatever, but there's got to be a motivating factor or something a driving force. What was it for you?
Faith.
God dang, yes. That's
yeah,
what.
yes.
And right here, Grind Time with Darren McCarty with J. Chris Newberg, comedian, creator of the podcast. If you haven't heard it, it is awesome. Heroin has a new publicist, which we'll get into that. But faith, that's it. The faith to that your pure intentions. I always tell, keep your intentions pure, and God is who I talk to since I was a young age. People say, how did I get to? And we sit here as almost, the 5-0 men, right? And you realize more, it's having that faith that I had something bigger than myself behind me, or that I was on the right path because my intentions were pure. I think what you said about, unless it's coming to a violent end or you're doing something immorally incorrect, right? You have to develop that relationship with something greater than yourself to be able to lean on, because it doesn't leave.
Right.
If you nurture that relationship of faith, no matter what it is. This isn't about religion. This is more about spirituality and just, I guess it's a great topic with all the alien talk out there and stuff. So,
yeah.
I mean, I already know I'm from planet Sirius. I was born April 1st, 72, the first day of the hash bash was created. So, I mean, duh. It's just apropos.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, speaking of that, as I preach here, I'm going to do my first commercial break. See, because here's everything that you say, and I can tell everybody bigger and better things. You want to tune in next Wednesday. I'll have a humongous announcement. It's the biggest thing since becoming a Detroit Red Wing, drafted by the Red Wings in my life, because it's going to help everybody else. But in the meantime, everybody wants to know. They hear about CBD and all this stuff. I'm here to let you know that the THC-free CBD, which the difference is with the ones that has this THC in it, it's like going to the nightclub. You have your name on the list with the THC because the way that the cannabinoids work, you're on the list, you get in. Without the THC, well, you got to wait in line a little bit. It still works, but it just takes a little bit longer. So here, go to Herbal Active, URBALACTIV.com. There's no E on the end, and use DMAC25 for 25% off all THC CBD products, from the bombs to the tinctures to the candies to whatever it is. They ship all around. Exactly. And that's the beginning of the process. You got to get educated, and anybody who wants to get educated, look in your endocannabinoid system. So herbal.active.com. Rich, look forward to seeing you on Saturday at the skate. So I got a lot of things in that we were talking about before, because so back to the perseverance and having the faith to get by, because I understand that same path. Because was there a point though when you got out of it? Because obviously being in a different place, did you feel getting out of it, or what?
No.
I'm trying to, I guess the question I'm asking is, how can we relate to people to know that they're on the right path? Because I always preach progress, not perfection. The shit that I learned in AA, which is so apropos. As long as you're moving in the right direction, it doesn't matter how fast you're going. Was there a point, or was it just...
there was never a giving up. There was never self-doubt is, anybody who doesn't have self-doubt is not human. But it's like I was saying earlier, I have pockets of, and it's I look at it like an immune system. When they it's oh, you don't want polio, so we're going to shoot you with the polio virus, which contains polio. So we can have you then build up an immunity to polio and overcome. So I allow myself to have that. I allowed myself to get shot up with self-doubt for that one particular thing until I figure out how I build up an immunity to overcome that in particular thing.
So it's not a question of how, it's when.
Pretty much.
You're going to wear it out.
Yeah.
You're resilient. That's the grind that you have. It's just, you're going to always figure a way, and you're going to come back harder. And if you get knocked down again, you're going to regroup and you're going to come back harder. And that's the one thing about even in hockey or even fighting guys, whether you can get the better of them or not, you're going to get hit a few times. That deters guys a little bit when they know that they're in for a fight, that it's just not work out. So, but was there a point where you ever thought, yeah, like not that I've made it or not that like you're knocking off these checklists of playing all these places.
Well, the
all these
checklist is
people.
never ending.
Right.
Like, it's never ending. It's like, hey, by all definition, I pay rent by telling jokes or writing jokes for other people. That's how I pay rent. I have a place to live. I have food when I'm hungry. I like if Michelle needs something, we get it, whatever. Not that she's not capable. I wasn't implying that, but like that's success.
Right.
It's like, is it the largest success? No. Is it the smallest? Could it be bigger? Those aren't things you need to focus on. You focus on working really hard and being good at what you're doing and having faith in your ability to take you wherever. Now, as you become older, and I'm speaking to someone younger and someone older, I assume, because you said, you're not 50 yet, so we're so cool.
Oh,
but
you're playing real nice.
Yes, he is.
Chris, exactly.
You have to deal with the fact that there's external components out of your control as far as youth and popularity and whatever. Like I found it inspiring to, and I'm not going to get into it because I'm mostly asking you this later, in your 2008 season.
Yeah.
You came back at the end. Like
Yeah.
you were at different clubs and you were not on the wings and you were in the minor system, correct?
Yeah.
And then you came back and you fucking killed it. And then that just picture of you holding like that, there's probably, you don't focus on like in that moment, it was probably more important for you to have gotten there than to have gotten it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you did all this work. There was never a question. You were like, if I'm going, like you weren't gonna, like whatever, you're just gonna do the work. And then you're just like, nothing else matters. Like, oh, cool, I lived in my car, whatever, I don't give a fuck. Do you see what I'm holding? It's like, oh, I went through all this stuff. Are you kidding? I'm gonna skate with this over my head. And it's like, that's what it's about for me. It's like, I tried to get on the Tonight Show for 11 years. I was told by them 11 years. I had a letter above my desk. You are not right for our show. Next to it, I had the letter. And they're packed away. They're actually my dad's. They're both framed. And it's like, one of them is like, you are not good enough for our show. Stop submitting. We are not going to put you on our show. We appreciate it. And the next one is, you were the best guest Jay's had this season. He loved it. He's quoted 4 of your jokes since then. So it's like, you're never going to make it to you were the greatest. And it's from the same person. And it's just different. And all I did was just keep writing and keep telling jokes and keep doing shows. There are certain shows, like when I was listening to, there's certain stuff I won't do anymore now as a comic because I don't feel that I benefit from it.
Right.
Like listening to Kevin and Tom and Justin talk about, oh, we go in these rooms and it sucks and these people are talking, they're doing whatever and they're arguing and they're fighting, we have hecklers, whatever. I'm like, I've done that. I've done all those rooms. And I'm not saying that I'm at a different level as anyone else. I'm saying I've done that. I don't want to do that again. If I have to do it, I can do it. You know what I mean? It's just like, you probably don't want to punch someone in the face. But if you had to punch someone in the face,
Absolutely.
you could punch someone in the face.
Right.
And it was like, it's not your first move because you've punched a bunch of people in the face. And it's like, I don't want to do that anymore. So I was like, when I was listening to that, it was a little Vietnam-y for me. It was a little like PTSD.
Right.
I was like, I don't want to, and I'm sure they're all good at it.
Now, when you do hear that, because that brings you back to the PTSD, do you take it in yourself and say, okay, and maybe that just to hear that, just okay, you know what, self-awareness, am I working hard enough, like to reiterate back so you don't have to go back there? Because that's what I always preach, and a lot of times, they call me the preacher, but it's like when I'm talking to my friends or I'm talking to somebody who's asking me for advice, when I'm talking, I now listen to myself because I have to apply everything that I talk about. And what I hear right from you, Chris, is the self-awareness. You look in that mirror and you've looked in that mirror and you know who that guy is, right? And up until, good, bad, or indifferent, but you've always had that relationship and that respect with the person in the mirror, correct? Yeah. And you and him are on the same page. So there's nothing you can't tackle together. That's the simple, whether it's the faith, whether that's who you talk to, but you have to have that respect, because I always found when I walked by and ignored that person in the mirror, that's when shit went south. If I walked by and went, I'm not dealing with you right now, he would be happy at least going, okay, he sees me.
Yeah, I mean, I always say one of my favorite statements on earth to say is the scariest monsters are the ones we never see. You know what I mean? Because it's like we psych ourselves out over these non-existent, ferocious beings that don't exist because it's all fear. And of course, I tell that to Michelle, who's 29, and she's just like, I don't understand. I'm like, you're 29, give it 10 minutes. You know, like experience these things. And like, I mean, I'm not a big fan of pain, I'll be honest, like physical pain. Like, I don't want to get hit in the head with a hammer.
Well,
It's not
I'm not either. Hey, I tell everybody, my fear of having them do it was greater than fear of me getting bodily injured. So it's not that I wanted to, but but I didn't want any of them to do it.
And that makes perfect sense.
Right.
So, but as far as like, okay, so like tonight's show, my podcast show this evening that you're doing, I didn't, like, I remember when I set it up initially, like when Mike was like, he was like, you should do a podcast. And I was like, I've done 3. They didn't work. They failed miserably. He's like, you should try one again. And this is why. And we'll help promote and whatever. He's like, we're going to get a couple of guys. And he mentioned you. And I was like, you know what? I'll try it. And then I was like, do I want to do like a traditional podcast? Because I didn't have a theme. And then I was like, and then I started doing it. And it was just me talking mostly. And then I was like, oh, I guess, you know what? I'm going to do it live. I have no idea what that's going to be tonight.
It's going to be awesome.
I hope so. And
Because
it's like,
but you know what? Because everybody you have, you're all entertained. It's all entertaining. It's just sort of like off the cuff. Because my thing is that if it's pure, it's not wrong.
that's great.
You know, like that's the whole, like, you go back to that experience. So you're talking about Heroin Has a New Publicist podcast, correct? Because I got to tell you, you got to check it out, guys. And not only because of your guest list and your friends list, which introduces, I think, people in Michigan to not only the facade of La La Land,
Right.
but to the real people, right?
Right.
Like, there's real people like yourself, like, Russell Peters, who's a huge comic that, is a buddy of yours, but all these people, my favorites, I text you when you had Krista Allen on, because I'm like, that was Billy from back in Days of Our Lives when Drapes and I used to watch that forever. And it's funny that you'd be able to run across and see the realist. So what have you found since you started it? Because it's awesome, dude. Your perspective, the jokes, what you get out of everybody else, it's just like...
Well, how would you describe
Yeah,
yourself?
how would
Number
you
one,
describe?
as a comedian, when you do stand-up, and then is there difference? Let our listeners know, like, the difference in a podcast, or...
Well, I mean, I think the stand-up they're well-crafted jokes for the purpose of, hitting a punchline. Like, it's like set-up punch, offering introspective into myself, trying to be, like, more personalized. Like, I don't think the reason I had greater success at the beginning, I think the reason I did not have greater success at the beginning was because I was just joke. They weren't about me. It was just joke. And I can write a joke. It's really easy. I've worked at it really hard for 20 plus years. But incorporating things about myself into those jokes was the transitional thing that I started to do on the record that really connected and took off. I had 3 records of just jokes, and then one with me talking about myself, which took off, which says, hey, there's an idea. So as far as myself on a podcast, different from being a comedian, on a podcast, I'm offering my insight. I'm offering you raw, sort of honest observation of experience based on experiences I've had and my take on the present situation. And stand-up is me boiling all of that down to the best 30 seconds and turning that into a joke or a story or something. And I think that, if anyone has seen me do stand-up before, I'm not an asshole for saying I'm funny. I know I'm funny. But I think what I've learned to do is not have to be funny all the time. And I've learned to figure out when it's cool to be funny and when it's appropriate to speak and not speak and to do the right thing as far as entertainment goes. I don't need to be the funniest person in the room.
Don't you just want to be you?
I like to be me now. The older I get, the more I want to be myself, but the more I'm realizing I like showing who I am on stage, as well as, like, I used to have Chris on stage, Chris off stage.
Right.
And I was like, now I'm just me all the time, but I have a different approach and a different energy. I know that, like, if I listen to podcast number 1 versus podcast number 70 of mine, I've seen an insane evolution in a short period of time because I cared enough to do the work. I cared enough to listen. I cared enough to try and to listen and figure it out and go, okay, that doesn't work, that does work, that does work. And I have the same process with jokes, except it's on a hyper level because I have that much more experience with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, experience
absolutely.
and confidence, I would assume.
I've always had confidence because it's like, what's the worst that can happen? It's like literally, what's the worst that can happen?
You're either gonna die, or you're gonna fail,
Yeah.
but you'll still have your birthday.
I read a statistic today. I landed this morning, and it was like 3:30 or something, and I'm in the back of the car, and we're on 94 right past the middle belt, whatever the other word is with M that's over there.
Merriman.
Thank you. And we passed that, and I remember vividly that in 1987 there was the Northwest Airlines Flight 255 crash.
Yeah.
One survivor. 165 people died, one survivor. This woman is now 30-something. Her name is Cecilia something, I think.
It is. Yep.
Because initially I thought the survivor was baby Jessica, but she survived something else.
That was a different one.
That was
That's
a
what I was
different one. Yes.
Yeah, but
no, it's
like-
Cecilia. Yeah.
Okay, so she survived. She's now married. She travels for a living. She has zero recollection. She's surpassed survivor's guilt on several different occasions. She's gone through all of the horrible different levels of healing and things that she must do. She has an airplane tattooed on her wrist. But in this article, the most interesting thing to me was 95% of people in all plane crashes, in the history of plane crashes, 95% of the people survive. Collectively, 95% of the people in.
Wow, I wasn't
it's
aware
like-
of that.
I didn't either. I was like, how is that possible? And it's just like, okay, sure. There's the one plane from Ethiopia Air or like this other one that goes down. Sure. But there's a lot of other plane crashes that that doesn't get a lot of press that you still crashed your plane.
Right.
Like Harrison Ford crashes his plane. He lives. Nobody cares a week later.
Right.
But he crashes his plane like all the fucking time. So
Right.
he's in the statistic. Sully takes everybody in the Hudson. Like a lot of people survive, but we have a tendency to not give ourselves enough credit for surviving these plane crashes, and we focus only on the devastation. And it's like, I think I was talking the other day about Neil deGrasse Tyson,
Yeah.
the guy who made the tweet about the shooting.
Right.
He said nothing demeaning about the victims. He didn't take away from the actual thing that happened in Dayton or whatever. He simply stated, these are the facts. 200 people get shot and killed today. None of these people ever get like any attention because we are triggered by like the whole spectacle, like the media spectacle, like of the whole thing. And it's like, I think that comes into factor with the process of a lot of creativity and a lot of survival. It's just like, we're crashing planes all the time. We're crashing our plane like once, twice a week. But no one cares because it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't into this building or that building. So we just get on another plane. It's the same thing with life. You just keep crashing your plane. You're probably going to live most of the plane crashes. One of them you're not. And you just keep moving. And that was either the coolest thing I've ever said or the dumbest thing I've ever said.
No,
But I
that
said
was
it.
sweet,
Dude,
dude. I
that's
was
good.
following
I'll
the
tell you
whole
what,
way, and
yeah.
I'm the biggest stoner in the room, but I mean, no, definitely, because you can't.
That
it's-
was-
and that's where faith, that's where pure intentions, that's where, I call it the chosen family. you know,
Self-awareness, all those.
Right, and it's the self-awareness, and it's definitely with age. I always say, I'm just convinced on how certain things end.
Yeah.
Right? If I drink, I die. If I stick my dick in another woman, I get divorced.
Right.
There's just certain things that I know is fact that you don't need.
Sure.
And just, moving forward with that. So what are you cracking out? So let's talk a little bit about this weekend at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle in Royal Oak. You're doing
4 shows.
4 shows. And so you're going to take how does that work? Explain to everybody, because if you're doing a live show performance, so the take
Okay,
it,
so tonight I'm doing the podcast.
which I'm honored to be on.
I'm honored to have you.
I can't wait to hear, dude. I love your take on life. Just like the perspectives, because what people they'll
He
get
just gave us a hell of a description.
No, just perspective and reality. Just like it's just sort of like it's okay. Slow down a little bit. It's not as bad as you think. That's what I get.
Yeah.
And also too, because then you always leave it with the funny thing. So we're doing
We're doing a show tonight.
Yeah.
So it's a live record. You're my main guest, and I'm gonna have Walters and Eric on for a little bit to bullshit. I'm gonna make fun of Eric for his friends episode knowledge.
Hey, have you seen? Speaking of that, before, have you seen the Liberty Mutual commercial with the kid petting the pony that's sort of like the dog, and he's like, "He makes me relax." That's Eric's brother. Have you seen him? Have you seen that commercial
No,
where
I
it's the
haven't.
pony? And he's like,
I don't know if we have Liberty Mutual on the West Coast.
Oh, wow.
I don't.
Yeah.
I got to show you that later, though. But
Okay.
yeah, that's all right. He can handle it.
Okay, so I'm doing that as a live show, and then we're going to take a little break. And then Raj, the other comedian who's with me all week, and I are going to do some stand-up. And I'm just going to try a bunch of new shit that I don't know if it's going to make on the record tonight.
I love it, dude.
So I'm just going to use that tonight to try new stuff to see if it goes in. And then tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, all 4 shows. It's just I'm recording all of them. I'm taking an approach of I want to do clean shows. I don't want to do clean shows, but the monetary difference between doing a clean comedy record and I can say fuck all the time on a podcast or in the club when I'm not recording. But if I have an opportunity to have thousands and thousands of thousands more listeners and way more money because of then I'm just going to do it. I don't need to say shit.
I've found too is here's the thing that I've found, and then obviously being different, but when I do a clean show and people like to see me try not to swear when they know the way that I swear, it's almost as entertaining. Or when I do, it's when if I'm explaining about that hitting Lemieux was a cold cock, not a sucker punch, and a fucking label him, that deserves a fuck because that's like a fuck moment, right?
Right.
Yeah. So it's always fun. And
did you know going in that day
here's the whole thing with that.
Is that a horrible question? Have you been asked that a million times?
No, it's not a horrible question because it needs to be answered anytime it's asked because it's such a pivotal part of history. And this is there was the only thing that was ever said before that game was when I got Drapes out of the hospital 2 days after, 10 months earlier in May, right?
Yeah.
I asked him, I told him something, I asked him a question. I turned to him and I said, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. And then he had his jaw wired shut and his titanium plate. And I said, okay, where do you want to eat? No, I knew it was on Diamo for gnocchi. It takes 4 hours to eat, for fuck's sake, that fucker. But no, nothing was said. So my whole thing when I tell this story, 10 months. I'm thinking every night, you wonder why I'm a fucking alcoholic. It's just like fucking trying to think about how I'm going to get this guy back for not only my teammate, but my best friend and not saying sorry and shit. So you talk about faith and you talk about higher power. I got the revenge and scored the overtime goal. Yeah. Don't say that he hasn't got plans for me. So that's the whole... when you look back and you realize that it played out because, I probably would have done something stupid because he was going to get it, but no, we never talked about it, and I think that's the whole magic behind it. It just sort of, it was all natural, and I always tell everybody, if you can't write a better script, and I'm biased because I'm a star, but, you can't write a better script of how it plays out, and then the way history played out, right?
Yeah.
So.
That's great.
It is great.
I was pissed at you because I was in the bathroom because I was like, oh, nothing's going to happen. They're just facing off. I'll be right back. And then...
No way.
Yeah, well, I obviously got a chance to see it a million times, but I didn't see it as it happened because I was just... it continued, obviously.
Right.
But the moment it started, I was like, oh, I'll be right back. I'm going to go to the bathroom. I came back and I was like, motherfucker.
The best part of Mickey Rabbit, or not the best part, where's Mickey Rabbit got stuck in the elevator?
Yeah, Mickey missed it too, yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah,
he missed it too.
I remember whenever I hear Mickey Redman, I think of the words chin music.
Chin music, bingo, bango. You know what's funny? We were just at the Red Wing Alumni Golf Outing. Shout out to all the Stalls boys. Questions, Danny Stahl. We had a great time, Perry. You see pictures on the...
Yeah, I saw
on
you
the
there.
way with the Stalls boys who hooked us up here. Stalls custom printing. But Mickey, they had this silent auction item, and it had all Mickeyisms. Bingo, bango, no place for a nervous person. And it was like one of those that you could hang up. I think Cooler bid on it.
He
Cooler
did.
bid a
I
couple
saw
hundred
him
on it,
bid
or
on
I
it.
was going to snipe Dave Coulier. So it was fun. But those are always great events.
So were you at the game or were you watching it?
I was watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when I tell the story, I was there.
Yeah, of course.
Right,
Yeah. When I tell the story, I was also when I tell the story.
Now you're a good buddy, Darren McCarty.
Yeah, of course.
Exactly. I can prove
I was so pissed at him. I told him after, motherfucker, I was in the bathroom. I said, don't do that.
So I went straight down to the dressing room and I told him. No, I was also
and he said sorry.
Yeah, when I tell the Iserman Blue Line story, I was on the side. I was standing right. You can see me in the background. It's blurry because most of the pictures of Not true at all. I was somewhere else.
So people are looking hard, like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
that might be him. I think that's him.
But that was such a cool, like, I'm saving most of it for my thing because I don't want to double ask you the same questions, but like, so cool.
Yeah. Hey, so like you said earlier, like you've played. Where are some? Give me, like you said, Madison Square Gardens.
Or
But
favorite.
Give me
What's a
some of your
favorite
favorite
venue?
venues that you've played, but also maybe who are some of your favorite? Like I want to know who are the comics that you know that are good dudes. Obviously Russell Peters, he's Canadian, so.
I mean, most comedy people are good. There's like, I think gone is the day of like the a-hole, like elitist comedian, because it's like everything is too accessible. Like there's so many social media channels. Everybody gets to see what you're doing pretty much 24 hours a day, constantly. And I think like, I mean, let's see I recently worked with Larry the Cable Guy. He's one of the best joke writers I've ever seen in my life. I did not know that prior to working with him.
Really?
I just thought, here's a guy who's got a character, whatever. But it was really cool with him. Like, I've never wished I had a microphone more in my entire life to do the pod with him. But, like, at that time, because he was telling me how he told me this great story. And so I was like, I said to him, I go, blue collar. I'm like, you guys were the Beatles for a while. I'm like, you guys, like, it was so insane. How did that happen? What was going on? He goes, well, it wasn't me originally. I wasn't on the show. And I go, okay, tell me about that. And he goes, well, they had this other guy. I don't remember his name. You could say it. I wouldn't be able to tell you. I wouldn't be able to say that wasn't it. I just don't remember the guy's name. And he said he was on. He wasn't going over well. At the time, I was doing stand-up, and I wasn't killing it. He goes, I was playing clubs. I was doing fine. But every part of my stand-up set, for the last 15 minutes, I would do this character, Larry the Cable Guy. One time, there was some person from a radio station there. They said, we want you to call in as that character. We're going to syndicate it. We're going to have you on all of these different places. So Dan Whitney is doing this character, Larry the Cable Guy, for radio stations in the morning, syndicating whatever. And that's how he's making his money. He's not killing. No one's going to see Dan Whitney. But if they do, they love Larry the Cable Guy, and they start talking about Larry, like the Get Her Done thing kind of like gets swelled on the radio. So it turns out he's friends with Foxworthy. Foxworthy needs them to replace this other guy because they're shooting this blue-collar comedy tour movie. He's like, all right. He goes, we need you to be in North Carolina tomorrow. And he's like, all right, awesome. And he's all excited. He's like, oh, my God, I get to finally get my break. Dan Whitney's going to go on. And they're like, no. Larry the Cable Guy is going to go on in the thing. And he's like, I'm sorry, what? He's like, Larry the Cable Guy is going to open. And he's like, all right. He goes, all I thought to myself was, well, this is North Carolina, and the character Larry the Cable Guy on this station in North Carolina is the most popular station of all of the stations that I do Larry the Cable Guy. He goes, I'm in. Let's do it. So he shows up to the thing, and he said that Ron White never would watch the comics before him. He would never watch the guy who would just stay in his dressing room and then walk out. He came out 10 minutes into Larry's act, and Larry, the character Larry the Cable Guy, Dan, is a machine gun joke writer. It's like hanging out. It's like Shecky Gold Green. It's like boom, boom, boom. They're all funny.
It's like
They're all smart.
Eiserman ripping on you. It just says relentless diarrhea out of the mouth with samurai swords cutting you to pieces.
Fair enough. Yeah, I would have never thought of that. But
I know you wouldn't have. That's just one of the little nuggets about our fearless leader that you didn't know. And I was his prime suspect. So you want to know where like the old saying of what anybody thinks you is none of your business comes from?
Yeah.
Exactly, because I have no fucking feelings left. So Ron comes out.
So Ron comes out and watches Larry, and he's like, ugh, shit. Now I got to try. Because, like, Larry did, like, 30 jokes in the first 2 or 3 minutes. And Ron was like, I'm going to have to work hard to follow this. So then, obviously, Larry got on. Larry blew up. He was the biggest part of that whole special. That character took off. They were gigantic. And he was like, and I was talking to him, like, how big was it? He was like, it was so big. He's like, now I do 30 dates a year if I want to. And he's just, he's so set. And he's so whatever. And he's a really great dude. And, like, and we would talk, and I would watch a set, and he would give me suggestions for my stuff, and and I made suggestions for his, and he would try. My favorite, like probably one of my most favorite moments in comedy, as long as I've, like all comics, it's like when you say there's a difference between being hired by someone to write jokes for them, which happens constantly in the world of comedy.
Okay.
Constantly. For the most part, you don't ever talk about who it is you're writing for.
Right.
Because that means that you don't have a good relationship with them anymore, because they don't want you to let them.
Right. It's like they're not fun. It's like, see, I look at it differently. Like the more the merrier, because it's all about, to me, when you realize, and do it over, whatever, is that you can have all the info, but it's how you deliver, it's your timing. There's so much more to tell in a joke and the story, but to get the intricacies, because what I love is like a guy named Ron Sweet, who's comedian that's come around, and he's helped me with a couple of my jokes, and like you said, it's like, hey, what about this here? What about this here?
Yeah.
You know, another one Violi's helped me with is, you know, I have a band called Grindr, and obviously there's a fucking gay app called Grindr, so we're trying to find the right joke in there, but that's the whole thing, is like, because different perspective, because everybody's funny and sees things a little bit differently, so that's pretty cool. So late.
You know, the really funny. You know what the funny joke would be? The second you said that, I couldn't stop thinking. I have a band. I'm in a band called Grindr, and there's a gay app called Grindr. So I don't know if you've been on Grindr, the app, but whatever time you swipe right, my band plays.
I like it. Hey, and that's all. Hey, who cares? It's all about listens.
Sure.
All these days, it's all about views and plays and whatever. How you ever get this is 2019.
A record sale's a record sale.
Hey, just because my drummer likes to get pegs, it's not my problem, right?
Yeah. So one of my favorite things is, so like, comics will always help each other out with different tags and whatever, and it's not like, oh, I gave you that. I mean, when you first start out, it's like that because it's ego and whatever. But now it's just like, oh, happy to help you. You help me, whatever. But I gave him this tag to this one joke, and he couldn't remember it. And so I could see him like in his brain trying to remember it. And he stops the show and he goes, Chris, come up here for a second. So he calls me up on stage, makes everyone clap for me again. He goes, tell me that joke again. So I whispered it to him. He tells the joke, it kills, and then he credits me again with it right after. I was like, what a great dude. Like, he didn't have to do any of that.
No, dude, but how realistic to know, like, how real it is too, because to call you out to and then he delivers it. It's like, yeah, thanks, bro.
Yeah, and it's just great, and that was that. And it wasn't like, oh, you owe me this, or I want this. It was like, oh my God, thank you. Can I get a picture? I was happy.
That's awesome. Now, do you follow? So in your what does J. Chris Newberg do in his spare time? Other than the fun stuff we see on with you and Michelle doing on Instagram, but. Sports? Do you still follow?
I like sports. I'm a diehard Lions fan. I love the Lions. I'm a fair weather Red Wings fan.
Yeah.
True. Like back in the day, I was an actual fan. I can't ice skate.
So that means like 3 years you'll be another fan. Right there. I love it.
Well, I mean, like when you get to a point where you know everybody's name, watching. That's familiarity is key, which is why I think it's so smart of HBO to do those training camp with, because you take the helmet off. Take the mask off, you get to know all these people, and then the popularity gains, and you care more about these people.
Absolutely.
During the whole the classic area, 90s, early 2000 era of the Red Wing success, you had Mitch Albom writing about it in the Free Press all of the time. You had Drew and Mike talking about it. You had all of these other morning shows. You had Mickey Redmond on. And everyone was talking about Drapes, talking about you and Iserman, and all these in the Russian Five.
How many Red Wing flags? And on cars, you remember
everywhere.
that?
Yeah.
Everywhere. And
it was crazy.
But it was so special.
It was.
It wasn't like it wasn't one of those things that was like, oh, it's tried, whatever. And I'm sure, Buffalo's Bills Nation and all these other places have their thing. Whatever. Like, seeing the Russian Five movie and then living it outside of not having any idea any of that stuff was going on. My whole thing was like, from a fan perspective, I saw Sergei Fedorov because a friend of mine was his attorney in Birmingham. So I saw every, once or twice a week, Sergey would drive his Porsche up. He'd park in this do not parking space. He would never get a ticket, ever, because people would know whose car it was. And I was just like, I parked there 2 minutes, and I got a ticket. And I would see him there, and I knew that, I knew that women just hurled themselves at this guy. That's what I knew about him. I didn't know he was swiped. I didn't know that he was paid. I didn't know that he was, I didn't know any of that stuff. So learning that stuff after the fact made it even cooler. And but seeing it all happen, there's something really cool. To me personally, and as a non crazy over the top Red Wings fan, but as someone who was when it was happening, and I'm so glad it took you guys a couple of different times to do it, because it was really cool to be almost an inch by inch.
It was? Okay, great.
Yeah, but maybe not.
From a fan's point of view.
I will accept that as we're sitting here in 2019, because I have 4 of those.
Yeah,
if you couldn't see. Wait. Thank God we're not having this conversation. It's hindsight, because
that's
and we wouldn't have won the 4, but yeah, it was painful to.
But that goes back to starting out.
Yeah.
It goes
And
back
right
to
to
you
fall,
gotta
you're
get
gonna
up.
knock down and get him back up.
That was a million plane crashes. Tell you.
And we didn't die.
I know.
You're right.
100%. But like you would talk about it. I remember there was one year. I remember when you guys didn't win. I can't tell you one of the years, but one year you were in the finals, and I would imagine it was like you were in the finals a couple times in addition to that where you didn't win. Yes.
No, just 95 and 09.
Okay, so then maybe it was 95. I think it must have been 95.
Jersey.
Okay, it was. And I remember seeing Marion and Mike Ilitch check into the hotel we were in Charlevoix, and I remember our drummer walking up to Ilitch and going, "You came close," and Ilitch just goes, "I'm not in the business of close." And I was like, holy shit, this is great. This is going to get good. And it did a couple years later.
Yeah.
I'm not in the business of close. It's something a multi-millionaire pizza, baseball, hockey franchise dude will say, right?
That's something
That's
the guy
incredible.
that
That's
started out making pizzas and got to owning 2 franchises will say, because it goes back to the beginning of our conversation. It's the hard work, putting
Yeah.
your nose down and doing what you did. What's the give me is there obscure one of the most fun things you've done? Because you've done like confetti, which was like you're not afraid to. I love it because you're not afraid to dress up. You're not afraid to.
No. Well, they write it, like we write it. We'd be sitting in a writer's room, there's 6 of us, and someone would turn around and be like, "Hey,
You'll
man."
do it.
Yeah. He's like, "Will you dress up like a ballerina?" And I'm like, "Does it get me out of here an hour early?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I go, "Yeah."
I love it. So there is the win-win on the end of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the time I was heavier, and it's always funny to see the fat guy dance. It's like it's never not, and but like I was at that point where, when I was bigger, I wasn't like John Panette fat. Like I wasn't like Ralphie May big. I was like, just go for a walk, dude. Like that's the level of big I was at. So it wasn't like, oh my god, that's hilarious, I can't stop watching. It was, oh, I don't want to see this. You know what I mean? Because you're at the level of fat where you're not even committing to being fatter. You know what I mean? You're just lazy fat.
Yeah.
You're like, you could go either way. But so I didn't care. So everything I've worked on has been an incredible learning experience. And I remember listening to shows. I mean, it's cool now to be on radio shows and to talk and to be able to hang with cool people. But back when I was just listening to them, you would hear people say the answers that I'm giving and that you're giving, and you wouldn't necessarily believe them.
Right.
You'd want to be like, "What do you mean it's all good and you're just happy to whatever?" And it's like, "Fuck you, dude. Tell me what an asshole Kevin was."
Yeah, right.
But then you just get older and you realize, well, maybe I don't really gain anything by talking about what an asshole Kevin is, and maybe I just want to be fortunate enough to keep being able to do this. And it's a great thing, and it's fun, and it's consistent. So I've always enjoyed it. It's like if you would have told me in 2000 any year or 97, you're gonna sit in 2019 in August at a big table, and Mike Walters, who's no longer with WRIF, his basement, and he's gonna have a cool table, and you're gonna be sitting with Darren McCarty, and you're gonna be talking not about hockey, some about hockey. You're gonna be talking about stand-up, something that you don't do and that he doesn't do already.
Yeah.
I'd have been like, you're out of your fucking mind. But I would have been like, I'm gonna mark that date on my calendar.
Absolutely. Dude, that's why I love that. And J. Chris Newberg Heroin has a new publicist podcast. He's going to say goodbye.
Yay.
He's got to go wash his ass.
Yes.
And take care of some things before 7 o'clock show.
Yeah, 7 o'clock. You'll be probably on around 7:15.
Okay. I will. What time are you going to be there?
I'm probably gonna be there 6:30.
Okay. I'll see you about 1:45.
Cool.
All
Thank
right,
you so
buddy.
much for having me.
No,
Perry.
thank you.
so
Check
much.
out
Chris, thank
check
you.
him out online. Check him out anywhere.
All weekend.
Chris
All
Newberg.
weekend.
All
Comedy
weekend at
Castle.
Ridley's. Thanks a lot, bud, and
Yeah.
appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thanks,
We'll
Perry.
see you tonight. I look forward to all the funny shit you're going to ask me. And you know what? The one thing is, and I'll get that because I got this too, because he's going to, and don't, because I'm going to tell you, don't go back to that hotel and lay down on your MyPillow, because you will be out.
I will be out.
Because here at Grind Time, we're proud to announce fine folks at MyPillow are on board. For our team, right now you can get 2 MyPillows for the very low price of $69.99. That is 2 for that price. That is less than, I don't know, $35 a pillow. But only if you use the promo code DMAC, D-M-A-C. Or go to MyPillow.com and pick up a new set of Giza sheets. I put these, Perry, on my bed. These are so mother effing comfortable.
How good are you sleeping?
Oh, it's unbelievable. Well, I always sleep good, but that's Herbal Active. I already did that read. Or you know what? Because my thing, Chris, you got to get a MyPillow dog bed because my bulldog died, and I stole his MyPillow. It's the dog beds are way better than the pillows. It's like twice as big.
Okay.
Not for a plane though. All right. My dogs love theirs. At least they did. Now I love them. Just make sure you use your promo code DMAC when you're checking out. That was fun, Perry.
Well, that was great. That was fun. What I mean, we knew that.
No, I look forward to tonight, and that'll be great and stuff. So, a little earlier today, this morning, you and I and Michael Bayoff from the Red Wings were down at training camp and for the Lions in Allen Park. That was a lot of fun. I was on talked to Lomas Brown and TJ Lang. Was on WJR this morning. Going to have those guys. So I think I'm going to play in a football show. Going to have some of those guys in. We'll talk football, before the season starts and that. But I was able to run into Matt Patricia, coach actually, who's driving around in his buggy, and he's like attempting to stand up. And I'm like, you bro, just whoa. So it was great to have a talk with him.
Well, you know what I noticed about that too, Mac? When the practice ended, there was a combined scrimmage against the New England Patriots. And so all the players walked off, and Matt Patricia was still on his ATV out in the middle of the field with Bill Belichick, coach of the Patriots, and they were talking.
Which, by the way, does Belichick not exude like these radiant, like sun rays around him? Like,
absolutely, he does.
It's
You're
unbelievable.
right.
Like, and here's the thing: it makes sense to me to see him in action because he's dressed down, but he's right in the middle of it. Like, you wouldn't if you didn't know who he was. He's like just another coach and stuff like that. That explains it because he's right in there. And he's right in there. And one thing that it was interesting talking to Tom Layden, who used to work here for Channel 7. He's now the sports director for Boston, so covering them. But in saying how Belichick will break it down, he says they're easier to work with the media-wise, but than you would think. But it's a respectful thing. But the thing with Belichick is that he knows players are better in different schemes and say maybe, well, this guy can cover this guy against this team, but the next week this guy's sitting out or he sits out one game and then puts him back in. So he knows his personnel really, really well. And you can see that.
His 6 rings,
Yeah.
But so the point they're talking, and then Jen, who was great, guiding you all.
Jen.
Yep, she did a great job. So Matt Patricia starts coming off. He's riding his ATV, and there's a whole group of reporters, probably about 15 of them, over in a corner waiting for him. And she's like, "Oh, okay, well, let him go do that, and then you can talk to him." And all of a sudden, he's riding. He looks, he sees you. You wave. You start walking over. He stops. And to me, that just showed the relationship that you've already established with him. How he stopped and waited for you when it was supposed to be the other way around. He goes and does the with the reporters.
No, it's cool.
And
I think one of the things that just in talking to him, but it's a the culture thing, and to understand that we're all in this together. And I think that if we can build the relationship between all the sports teams and just so the guys, the best part, I remember not only being part of the Red Wings, but was cheering on the Pistons and the Tigers and getting to know, Bobby Higginson was, one of my best buddies. We had so much fun back in the day. But just different things like that and getting to know, even the basketball guys and, the football guys and stuff like that. And I think that there's something to what being part of Detroit is about. And I think that they felt that they feel that in Boston because they push each other, the sports championship cities and with the Patriots and the Celtics and
how can you not want to be
Red Sox?
Yeah.
So it's just something, and I think as fans too, because we're all fans, it's just try to get it right and the culture right, and we're all in this together, good, bad, or indifferent. It's just like Chris says, man, Lions have been going through a whole bunch of plane crashes, but they're not dead.
Yeah.
So here we go again, and I'm excited. It was what a great facility.
Oh wow!
I mean, what
first
a
time
first
there.
class,
That was...
and to see, to see Eddie Murray and Lem Barney and Scott Kolkowski and
Mike Lucci, Greg Landry.
Mike Lucci, Greg,
Oh,
yeah,
I had a
Landry,
great-
Eric Hipple,
Yep.
and Mrs. Ford was out there.
Oh
in
yeah,
the,
riding around in her little
in her
Mustang,
yeah, exactly,
Mustang go
Mustang
kart.
Ford golf cart. So that
Yeah.
was really cool. Yeah, so we'll definitely dive into different stuff like that. What else?
Coach was great with you. I standing there and listening to you guys talk, I was very impressed and listening to you talking about the culture that's being established. And then when you were interviewed by the young lady from the Lions, I noticed you you mentioned. Excuse me, just lost the train of thought there.
So I'm gonna look at the great review I got on Cameo, right? Which, by the way, that Cameo, the Cameo app and stuff like that. Somebody just cited one for 25th anniversary, and their wife liked it a lot. So Cameo, if anybody out there, I post them a bunch of times, but if you want special shout outs, there's all different. I'm on there, all different athletes, entertainers, and stuff. And you can get a personalized shout out to whoever you want. People use them great for birthday presents or anniversaries or weddings or something like that. It's just something that I think is really cool and it really grown. So
I've noticed that. Yeah,
did you remember what you're talking about?
No, I was just laughing. Tommy Morris made a comment here, and that threw me all off. So yeah, no, you did.
You were talking about the interaction, but it's something that
what you said is that how the Lions, they were going against the New England Patriots. You're going against the best. So like you were saying, if you play with a pro golfer or a top golfer, you're only going to get better by facing that competition. So hopefully this is a good start for them to see what's out there and where they're staying this year.
But it's it's finding the way and learning a bunch of different things. But that's what training camp's all about and things like that. I'm just gonna look at my calendar here to see what I got coming up this week. Oh, actually, yeah.
We have some posts.
I'll be at the zoo tomorrow night from 6 to 9 with the Wings, with the Red Wing season ticket holder stuff. Gonna go to MIS, talk to our buddy Brad Kozlowski in the number 2 on Friday. I know I got a bunch of stuff to do. Sunday's the race.
Are you going to go to the race?
Yeah.
Okay.
We
were invited to the golf. Yeah. I'm thinking I might go. And then Saturday night. We've got people that are interested.
Geez. Oh yeah, I forgot. I was like, what am I doing Saturday?
Sorry, people.
I know
been a long.
something.
Guys,
okay.
we're getting a little. It's been a long morning already, and we're.
I'm fine. You're not.
I'm old.
So is anybody on there? Has anybody said I got? So if anybody, we're gonna skate. Actually, how this came about? Ryan Ellis, who's was on our show. He's Xfinity Race, part of the 95 De Benedetto team. They're in town for the race this weekend, and they bring their hockey gear with them. So we're going to take a bunch of the pit guys out, and J.R. Adams coming out, and
Meltdown come for a little bit. Peaker.
We're going to have a little skate, and I thought, I was talking to Perry, and I said, well, it'd be nice to do like tonight's sort of like a Radio for One studio event because
family event
because Jay Chris is in town and stuff like that. But I want to start doing something for the grind time and thinking of events. And I said, well, why don't I invite a couple people out to skate with us? Now, in saying that, you have to play hockey. You have to own your own equipment, and you have to have played within the last 3 years or so, or something like that. So I said to Perry, I said, how are you going to decide? And then he said, well, 10 words or less, why it should be you. So I guess right now for the next few minutes, have people put in any requests, Perry?
Oh, yeah.
They have.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You gonna read a couple to me?
Yeah.
Any good ones?
We get some, yeah. Craig Mounds, why should you pick me? Because
why would you do that?
I know that was wrong.
No. Why would you here, Eric? Here's the whole point when you're having this conversation beforehand, and it's not because I didn't have this conversation. But it's like, okay, Perry, why don't we put out that you make comments of why you do? And you're like, oh, great. Because I won't read the person's name. I'll read the comment, and then you can decide which one, and then I'll decide. So what does he do? He goes, oh, Craig Meller. Craig, you're automatically in. Craig's in.
Well, he just said he'll bring the beer. That's what his.
Well, I don't care. I don't drink beer,
doesn't affect
but
Darren.
just because you fucked him up, he's in. Anyways, so what we're going to do is we're going to post, Perry will post a couple winners, and they can get a hold of Perry at DarrenMcCarty.com. We'll pick out, it'll be done by tomorrow, so you can be in contact. But if you want to skate, it's just a little shinny. Nothing too serious, but we're going to
It's
do
on
that
our grind time page.
What's that?
It's on our grind.
time
Yeah, it
page?
says, yep. It says grind time with Darren McCarty. If you want to skate with us on Saturday, text us why we should pick you.
And I will. Let's see. The winner will be revealed tomorrow afternoon, at some point.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. 5:30 Saturday night.
5:30 Saturday night in Plymouth. You got
USA Arena. Yep.
Other than that,
What about
next
fun?
week. Huge
Well, fun
announcement
outing
next
last
week.
Monday.
What?
Fun outing last Monday, or last Sunday? We played in that outing.
I played in two. I played Sunday. We played in the Uptown Grill outing. Shout out to John, Ryan, Uptown Grill. Firecracker Shrimp's phenomenal.
Oh yes.
It's unbelievable. That's over Maple and
Haggerty. Yep. 15 Haggerty.
But what a great time. And first time I've ever played an event, and we had, so usually when there's two groups on each tee, it's a slow day. But what they did is there's two foursomes on each tee, and we all played together. So it was foursome versus foursome. And you played, Perry. The flow of the game was fun. I felt like I was watching golf and playing golf, and you know, having time to fuck around and do, you know, like just pay attention to nature or just chirp, and you got to get to know a lot of guys.
Yeah.
How about what a small world. One of the guys you grew up with, Big Mac there.
Mark McDonald, yeah.
Yeah, a couple Macs together. That was fun. But yeah, Rob, and you know, it was, what a great day. It was a fun day, and look forward to it. I played Indianwood at the old course with the Wings and Dan from Motor City and JP from Motor City and Liz from the Wings. We played there on Monday. What a great outing that was.
And then when are we going to get out to our course?
Cattails.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Cattails. Yes. We are going to get out there, but great segue, Perry. Cattails Golf Course, if you haven't heard of it, is in South Lyon. Yes, former home of the LPGA Futures Michigan Open. This has two different 9 holes, wetlands on the front, tree lined on the back, which Perry is over under is about 5 trees throughout the round. So you can always find Perry Vellucci golf balls lying around there for your leisure pleasure, usually if you jump into the pond. Anyways, come and play the golf course that the Grind Time family calls their own. Cattails Golf Course on 9 Mile in South Lyon. Tell them that the Grind Time family sent you $25 during the week for a 18-hole round of golf and a cart.
Can't beat it.
Can't beat it. And it's fun to play.
Just,
Thanks to everybody out there, and look forward to playing it. We'll have to get out there soon. So let's see, the Wings, Tigers.
I mean, it's about to really start cranking up here in the next month with football starting, hockey's getting ready to get going, and.
Oh, I actually want to give you updates. So our boy Grayson Sig on the Mackenzie Tour is sitting at 8th of the Canadian Order of Merit Top 10 Go to the Corn Ferry Tour. So he's got a little cushion, but he's playing well. I've been talking to him. Obviously, Connor Daly, IndyCar driver, having some rough luck, but he's been doing some of those races. And if you haven't followed like the Indy series, they do all the different car series on the same track at the same time. And, you know, you got Mercedes, like different class of races,
right.
And it's something sort of unique. I don't really get it. I'm still getting NASCAR. Look for me out there this weekend. Again, look forward to talking with Brad Kozlowski on Friday. I got a huge announcements next week, Perry.
I know. Can't wait. I can't
huge
wait.
announcements next week, Perry.
Yes.
But did you know if you've ever lost your dream home to a bidding war, you know how heartbreaking a fiercely competitive seller's market can be. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or simply thinking about making a move, give yourself the distinct advantage in this competitive market and put a winning team behind you. The Jeffrey Group of Ramerica Integrity and Rhonda Monet of Gold Star Mortgage join forces to make sure you land your dream home. Call Jeffrey Kavanaugh, 734-30...
Get the glasses.
306-9027 and give yourself an edge in the marketplace. Gold Star Mortgage is an equal opportunity lender. NMLS number 3446. Yeah.
We need bigger fonts.
I do. McCool's working on that.
That's good.
It's
But that's good,
right.
but that's what we need to, yep. use that.
So I think that,
Hey, Mac, I gotta tell you, just about today. So, you know, I look back to a year ago, a couple of years ago, 3-4 years ago, where we were in our lives, and look at the day we're having today. I mean, we sit there with the Lions. It was a great morning, right?
That was great. Yeah.
And then we come here. Now we're doing this with J. Chris Newberg. What a great guy. You know, talk about, being down, getting up. And then tonight you're going to be doing his show. I'm going out to Brian Adams and Billy Idol. I mean, you talk about a day, a fulfilled day. It's just...
it's a good day.
Yeah.
It's good. And I think that, the one thing is it makes a lot of sense to me why J. Chris Newberg is successful. And you know what? He's successful because he gets it. And he gets it that there's no place but hard work, but he's not afraid to fall down. Right?
Yeah.
He's not afraid
And
to
he
fall
has.
down, and he gets back up. But that's the whole thing. There's never a question in that man's mind that he's not going to get back up. He's going to find a way around that mountain, and it's fall down the hill, look for a new way up. But he's always getting back up, guys. And to me, that's an inspiration. Not only, his talent and how funny he is. And, I didn't even have him play guitar on here and sing his goofy songs that are so friggin' funny. Save that for tonight. But, that's... To be able to, to have that conversation and the mutual respect, but also to the just a fan of the person.
Absolutely.
And what he's done. So, and that's the one thing is like the realness of him, Heron has a new publicist, and his episodes are quick and not like 30 minutes, but they're right on top and make you think. That's the whole thing, make you think.
That's, and it's funny when he said, if he looks from how he was when his first one to where he is now, which I've followed him all along and seen, and I'm thinking back to us, the same thing. Look where we were a year ago.
Well, yeah,
and then how
it's
we've
all
come
putting
along.
it together. But again, the destination's an oasis, guys. It's all about the journey. So, some days it rains and some days it snows and some days it's sunny and, you just got to persevere.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks to everyone out there. Thanks to J. Chris Newberg. Thank you, Isis, for filling in for Bam Bam. Perry, thank you as always. And, man, I can't have said it even better because my guest today, J. Chris Newberg, epitomizes what I always say. No matter how many times you fall down, you got to get your ass back up. That's grind time. We're out.